Alright, hey guys, what's up? Welcome to ETSK Tutorials, and this is the DevTalk / Q&A live stream. How is everyone doing today? So yes, for those of you watching this on YouTube, we're just talking about vampires and sci-fi movies and basically Twilight and the Host and my opinions on those movies. So, oh yeah, the top of my coffee cup is completely see-through today. Wow. I knew it was going to be see-through. I didn't know it was going to be this see-through. You should be able to see, like, can you see, like, the code behind my cup? Oh, wait, no, the camera cuts off. But yeah, the top of my coffee cup's green, so it's, like, completely, that's weird. Alright, so, anyways, yes, the whole point of this live stream is to talk about video games. So, what video games has everybody been playing this week? That's how they do it on the the TGS podcast. Maybe we should adopt that. What's everybody been playing this week? I'm trying to even think if I've played anything this week. StarCraft 2, sweet. That is a pretty cool game. I love how performance optimized StarCraft 2 is. I've never seen a game that's so ridiculously performance optimized as that game is. Like, that game will run on anything. Crisis 3, sweet. That game will not run on anything. Assassin's Creed 3, Tribes. I love Tribes. I don't know how I feel about Assassin's Creed 3. I guess I assume I would have to play it before I could know how I would feel about it. Gears of War 3. Oh, really? Yeah, you know, anything that has a 3 after it, I assume that they're going to screw it up. Like, I'm trying to think of any, like, third thing in a trilogy. Lord of the Rings 3. I can't remember what the last Lord of the Rings was called. But they did a good job on that. Besides the 50,000 endings. I'm trying to think, besides that, was there, like, a good... Oh, wait, no. Half-Life 3. I can't wait for that. Now, Half-Life Episode 3. Who knows when Half-Life 3 is going to come out? Half-Life 2 Episode 3, that might be in the near future. But, of course, Valve is not going to directly tell us. Halo 3. Was Halo 3 good? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think I did play Halo 3. I don't really remember. I don't think it was as exciting as Halo 1 and Halo 2. And then Halo Reach, I really liked, except for the ending. I thought the ending could have been more powerful. It was like a disappointing ending. What's the subject of the video? This video? No, I don't think we have a subject. We just make this up as we go. Are you new here? Who said that? Oh no, EFS Games. You've been here before. I recognize your name. Yeah, that's true. Assassin's Creed 3 pretty much is like Assassin's Creed 6. And now they already have Assassin's Creed 4 coming out. It's like, come on. I don't know. I loved Assassin's Creed 1 when it first came out. I've gone on the spiel so many times. But like when it first came out, it was kind of like one of those like niche things where it's like, you know, not everybody's going to enjoy it, but the people who do are going to really enjoy it. And then it caught on and got popular, and then they started trying to make it as popular as possible, and I think that just kind of ruined it. So, of course, they expanded their audience, but, you know, the core fans, or at least I consider, or at least if I'm looking at it from my perspective, kind of ruined it for me. But what are we talking about? Video games. I don't know. Making video games. Assassin's Creed. Yeah, that's a good one. That's pretty much exactly what happened to it. They need more than a year to add new things. Yeah, really. But of course, like Assassin's Creed. They ruined it by not having big cities. Oh, okay. I guess I never thought about that. That kind of makes sense. I mean, from the gameplay, it seemed like climbing in trees and climbing in nature didn't feel quite as like tactile as climbing on like buildings. Because like with buildings, like, you know, what I loved about the first Assassin's Creed was that they like designed everything so that, like, you know, if it jutted out of the building, it meant you could climb on it. And now with Assassin's Creed 3, like, you could jump and like try to grab onto a branch, and then the game will be like, nope, you can't grab that branch. And then also, like, they had to like change all the trees to make them like line up so that you actually could jump between them, and they like didn't look natural anymore. And I don't know. Sniper Elite version 2. I'm trying to think if I played a little bit of the first one, just a little bit though. I really like that game in 3D. I just played the tiniest bit of it in 3D, but it's so cool because your character looks like an action figure because it's a third-person shooter. Actually, now that I think about it, I assume any kind of third-person shooter in 3D would have that same effect. But it was so much different than a first-person shooter in 3D because it, like, I don't know, just the depth of field. It looked like you had an action figure in front of you and you're playing as this action figure. It's really interesting. I don't know if I'd play it for an extended period of time though. But people don't live in the forest. What conversation? Oh, we're talking about Assassin's Creed 3. Okay. I always feel like I've just been robbed when I buy the new COD. I can't comment on that because I've never bought a copy of Call of Duty. Actually, have I? No, I haven't. I've never bought any Call of Duty or Battlefield or what other ones there are. Oh, well, I guess we might as well talk about the Battlefield 4 trailer. Have you guys seen that? I assume because there was a commercial for it when I turned on the live stream that I just saw, and that's what made me think about it. But I'm really, really skeptical of that trailer. Like, I've seen so many trailers before. Like, do you guys remember, was it the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3? I want to say it was like for like Killzone or something. I think it was for PlayStation 3. It was like, was it Arma 3? Was that what I was thinking of? But I don't know. There was a particular game, like, it was supposed to be a launch title for PS3. Oh, okay. You guys do know what I'm talking about? Where they made the whole trailer look like gameplay, and they said that it was gameplay, and it turned out to be a flat-out lie, and it was all pre-rendered CG, and, like, it was blatantly a lie. I mean, I don't think this new Battlefield 4 is going to be necessarily a lie. I bet you, you know, whatever they say is like, this is actual gameplay. I mean, I bet you if they say this is actual gameplay or this is actually in-game, what they really mean is that it's being rendered in real time on a super powerful PC, whatever the most powerful, like something with like a triple Titan computer or something like that with like 3 Titan cards in it or 990s or whatever. I don't know, whatever. Like, is probably, you know, they're going to get the best computer they possibly can and they're going to render it. And I mean, half of that stuff is like, you know, if you really analyze that trailer, even if they can get in-game graphics that look that good, the game's not going to play anything like what they showed there. Or if it is, then the entire game's going to be QuickTime events, or at least the entire trailer was made up of QuickTime events. Because, like, you got to look at, like, the animations, the situations that the characters are in. You know, it seems like a lot of the things that were going on in that trailer were from a first-person perspective, kind of insinuating that it was gameplay. But you really got to think about it and, like, the way the character was moving. How could you possibly create a game that plays like that? Like, especially a Battlefield 4 game. Like, it's not, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that things like that might happen in the game, but they're going to be QuickTime events, and it's going to be more like tap A really fast to do this super action-packed thing, and you know, they're going to try to trick you and make you feel like you're doing that, but really you're just tapping A. And, like, so I think they're kind of like trying to trick people, whereas that trailer wouldn't be nearly as impressive or look as if it were really, really good graphics if it was all just an in-game engine and they just showed actual gameplay. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's move on to the next subject, because I'm just speculating based on that trailer. I have no actual tactile information. Actually, is that the right word? Tactile? I don't know. I don't know. This is what happens when I live stream and make everything up as I go. Um, yep, an overclocked PC. Yeah, I mean, pre-rendered doesn't mean as much as it used to. Like, um, Friedel Slayer TV made his or her first game. Next gen is just around the corner. Um, it's been here for a long time. I don't think it like just the PS4 coming out is going to mean like we're in the new generation. It's like like there have been plenty of people with super high powered gaming PCs. It's a matter of like what game is the best graphics and who wants to make the best graphics game. Like, there's really no limitation. Like, take a look at Crysis 3. That's probably the best example of the best graphics. It's not like that Crysis 3 needed to wait for the PlayStation 4. It wasn't being held back by anything. It's just business decisions. It's like, well, creating a game that looks that high quality and that realistic is super expensive. It costs a lot of money. Like, we're talking about like millions and billions of dollars and hundreds of people. It's really expensive to create games that look like that. So if they're going to spend that much effort creating a game that looks like that, they're going to make sure they're going to put it on like the particular platform that's going to make them the most money back. Because if they're going to spend a lot of money, they're going to want to get a lot of money back. So it's really a business decision that's stopping them from going to this next gen, which it's not like we're going to like, maybe it might seem that way since people are going to want, like, all the developers are going to want to be on both PC and like PS4 or whatever, like because like right now whenever we get ports or like right now it's a much better business decision to go for console because so many more people own consoles. So they're going to make the game be able to run on an Xbox 360 and a PC. So they have to like tone down the graphics to make sure that it can run on both, and they have to slow it down for the Xbox. So yeah, in that sense, games are gonna be, I don't know, I guess more better graphics games are probably gonna come out since it will be, since the PS4 is gonna be definitely on par with a lot of gaming PCs. Like, it'll, I don't know, just business wise, I guess, yeah, game graphics will get better, but technology wise, this isn't anything new. I mean, well, it is kind of new because it has like 8 gigs of GDDR5, which is pretty crazy to think about, and it's like all 4K ready, this other crazy stuff. So I mean, technology wise, it is a little bit new, but I mean, when you really think about it, like, it's not like it was this big technological jump. It's really a business. It's a business jump, not a technological jump. Here's a question. Itiski, how about your game? How did you get the idea? That's a good question. Um, I think my game just kind of was like an evolution. I don't know why I chose platformer. I guess I wanted to make a game that would be really, really quick to make. That was my main goal. I wanted to crank out like a good game, but I wanted to crank it out really fast. And what ended up happening is I kind of kept adding to it and wanting more out of it. And so it ended up not being as fast as I originally wanted it to. But I think my first idea was I wanted to like emulate Mario, but then I wanted to give all the characters guns. And so I was thinking like these Mario type characters with guns. And then I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny is if when your character is small, and you need a mushroom to grow. So like when your character is small, the guns like will knock your character backwards because like maybe keep the guns the same size, but your character shrinks when you get hit, and then when you shoot, you like move backwards. So I started playing around with that, and I ended up just liking it as a game mechanic so much that I kind of wanted to make the whole game based around that, and I just kept playing with the engine, and I don't know, it just sort of like gradually evolved. So I don't think I got the whole idea of that entire game all from one place, and like a lot of it kind of like changed as I go. Like there's a lot of ideas for that game that I ended up like scrapping those ideas because I was like, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of it kept on evolving, and um, I don't know. It was really the gameplay and playing with the code and making the game fun that I really found the most interesting. Do I have any plans for multiplayer? Yes, I have plans for local multiplayer. Um, and I plan on this game being on the Ouya. I don't know how many of you guys have heard of the Ouya. Most of the time when I ask people if they've heard of the Ouya, they actually haven't. But since all of you guys are interested in game development, I mean, I assume you are because you're here. Um, I'm hoping some of you have heard of the Ouya. So yeah, I want to make this game for Ouya. I've pre-ordered an Ouya. I'm talking with Ouya developers, and I'm really looking into it. And I mean, it's more than just looking into it now. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to make this game for the Ouya. That is the goal. Um, so yeah, I want this game to be 4-player co-op or up to 4-player co-op. I'm thinking there's gonna be a single-player campaign, a 2-player co-op campaign, and then a party campaign that can range anywhere between 2 and 4 players. And then also I'm working on programming the game so that you can use it with any type of controller or keyboard and mouse. So you can hook up a keyboard and mouse to the Ouya and use it. Well, I don't know for sure about that yet. I'm hoping, but you will be able to on the PC and Mac and Linux. You'll be able to hook up a mouse and keyboard and treat that as a controller, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be first player. It could be like second or third player. And like any mix and match of whatever controllers you want. I believe on the Ouya, if everything goes according to plan, you'll be able to plug in or synchronize via Bluetooth any controller that you want. So Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Logitech, whatever, the actual Ouya controller. You could even hook up like a flight simulator joystick. I don't know, like, so I'm hoping that's like actually what you see in the background right now. That code, let me point whatever, you know, you can see the code. So there's code, and that's what I'm working on right now, is making all of the controls work and making them all customizable in game and all of that cool stuff. So yes. Okay. All right, I've already got you guys on Skype. One thing I'm actually highly considering, and I'm sure some of you here have probably, I will get to Blue Bottom's question in a second, but some of you might have already heard this idea, but I'm going to officially announce it in a video sometime in the future. Once I work out the details exactly. But what I'm thinking is that I want to speed up the production of Prototype Recoil, and I want to get it on the Ouya when the Ouya launches, and, you know, get that done as soon as possible. And many of you guys might know that I'm not the greatest artist, and I really prefer programming over art, though I can do art. But I was thinking about making all of the enemies and guns pixel art in this game. And then I was thinking, you know, why don't I make it like a community thing? So anybody who wants to submit artwork to be in Prototype Recoil could possibly get their artwork in Prototype Recoil. And then I was thinking, actually, I can't remember who it was that gave me this idea, but it was a really good idea. But the idea is for anybody's artwork that I end up using in Prototype Recoil, they will get a free copy of the game. So, you know, that's really the most I can offer. I can't pay you guys. I don't have the money to pay you guys. Like, can't really split profits or anything like that. That would be way too, that just wouldn't work out with, you know, a community-based thing. And, you know, I don't have enough money to fund a prize or anything like that. But I can give you guys a free copy of the game. That's something I can definitely do. So, how do you guys feel about that? Who here would be interested in getting their pixel art featured in Prototype Recoil? And there would be like a credit scene. I guess I would make it so that you can go into the credits, you know, via the option menu or something like that, or when you beat the game. But like a credit scene where it shows everybody's artwork, the name of the person who made it, maybe where they are located in the world, like what country they're from, and I don't know, stuff like that. And then so if I use your artwork, then you get a free copy of the game. So how do you guys feel about that idea? All right, sweet. Well, I'm going to make a video once I decide all the specifications, like the image size, and I might make some like templates or something that people could use, like some Unity package templates in case anybody wants to like see what it looks like in 3D, maybe do multiple layers of pixel art like on 2D planes, or if people ever want to, or they just want to do a classic like one layer. I don't know, I'm going to have to work out the details, but I just wanted to see if, just double check to make sure that is something that people would be interested in doing, for anybody who would, you know, just be interested. Oh yeah, and sound. Yeah, I gotta figure out sound. I'm not fully decided on sound, because I think, art, wait, I will start up my shop. Like, because I think artwork would work really good for this. I don't know fully about sound, but sound's something I would definitely keep in mind. Um, cool, cool. Let me go back to Blue Bottom's question. Have you ever tried to use VR for your games, and what do you think about VR? Have I ever tried to use VR for my games? I don't think I have. No. I mean, I guess it depends on what you consider virtual reality. Um, I think in some cases, I mean, technology keeps getting better and better. Um, but I guess I'm trying to think of like actual virtual reality things that I've seen. I guess there is the, what's it called? Oculus Rift, which isn't out yet, but when it does come out, the Oculus Rift, that will be virtual reality. Or actually, will that be virtual reality? I don't know. But and then what's the other one? When you have like a iPad or whatever like tablet or something, and you point it at a piece of paper and it looks 3D, and you can like move around it, and like I've seen fighting games like that where like, you know, you play this fighting game in 3D and it's kind of cool, but it's more of like a technological gimmick. Like, it's cool that we have the technology to create this gimmicky toy, but it's really a toy, not a game. I guess it is a game, yeah. But it's like, it's you can't. I don't think. I think we're a little ways off from creating a hardcore game. Hey, Zillion, you're only a few minutes late. Um, Zed, you're a few minutes late, Zed. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think the technology is fully there, and you know, um, like I guess with the Oculus Rift, it's if it's used as an immersion thing, which it seems like it would be really hard to use for actual gameplay. Like my favorite game that I've seen that's supposedly supposed to support Oculus Rift is Hawken, which is a it's like a fast-paced what's it called? Fast-paced mech warrior game. And you play like from inside of the cockpit. So that's really cool, and it makes sense that you're going to be inside of the cockpit, and like, you know, you're going to be like simulating what it'd be like to have the controls of your mech warrior. So I'm sure in a real mech you'd have like big controls, but let's just say a controller, like you turn your guy this way and then like your mech moves. But like, since you're in the cockpit, you can still look around in your cockpit without moving your entire mech. So that seems like perfect for the Oculus Rift. So that yeah, it seems cool. I don't know how it'll affect gameplay, but yeah, I'd say the Oculus Rift looks cool. I'm not going to be participating in it because none of my games that I have so far would be worth putting Oculus Rift in, and yeah. Wait, do you know the new Skype virus? There's a virus going through Skype. Maybe I will not be turning on Skype for a while. That sounds scary. I don't want a virus. Just randomly saw this on YouTube. What game are we speaking of? Oh, I see. We're speaking of... I don't know. We're going all over the place. D-loop? Dali-loop? Oh, dang. You got infected from the virus from Skype? Shh. I'm not opening Skype. Screw that. I know somebody told me to get on Skype later, but I am not going to get on it. It sent you a link. Do not click it. Okay. So don't click on any links inside of Skype. Alright. Itsuki, do you know a good profiler for Unity without having to get the... That's a good question. Without having to get the pro profiler. I've never thought about that. Is there... I would be kind of surprised if there was anything out there, because that's like such a under the hood thing, and it kind of sounds like you'd actually have to really get inside of Unity, and like you wouldn't be able to create that alongside of Unity. You'd have to be inside Unity and inside the source code, I would assume. So I'm not sure. Does anybody know of any solutions like that? Liam Harley, because that would be cool. I would probably be very interested in that if somebody knew of, you know, if that exists. But kind of touching on that subject, what do you think of the Wii U or using stuff like that? What Xbox brought out smart glass where you use your smartphones and tablets to interact with your gaming experience? I think it's gimmicky, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I really liked the regular Wii. Now, let me specify that. I liked Wii Sports. There was no other good games on the Wii. Like, throughout the entire lifespan of that entire console, Wii Sports was the best game on that. So that really sucks that their demo game was the best game for that entire system. So, yeah. And the Wii U looks like fun. But it definitely looks gimmicky, and I'm not sure how much it would be really useful in games, because, like, you know, I guess if you're talking about fun party games and kids games and stuff like that, it's kind of cool. It's also kind of cool that you can play it, you can use it basically the same way, like with the NVIDIA Shield, which I'm kind of excited about. It's got a Tegra 4 processor, but I'll talk about the NVIDIA Shield later. But, yeah, like the Wii U, you know, it seems kind of cool. It seems kind of useful if you're the kind of person who's going to be like streaming Netflix on your Wii U screen or whatever. I don't know. And I guess the touchscreen can potentially do some cool inventory management stuff. But yeah, besides that, I think it's really more important to get like that core game good. Which, I don't know. I guess I've never used one. I don't even think I've, like, played one in the store or anything like that. So, I barely have anything to say on that. It doesn't seem like the most important thing to gaming. It seems kind of like fun for parties and kids and stuff like that. Can we see this game that this script is for? Sure. Hello, the workbench guy. The Wii U is overpriced and it barely has any software. Yeah, it doesn't have any games right now. I mean, it does, but no good games apparently. So let's see. Can you guys see my screen? Alright. So, this is the game. It's currently definitely a work in progress. Normally you can play with a controller, but right now I'm working on the controls to make it so that you can sign in with different controllers. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw that, but I actually did sign in with the keyboard. That's what happened when I like exited out of the pause menu. So it doesn't seem like much right now, but right now I have a custom control system going on, and it's all like organized through integers and key codes, and all the framework is being worked on right now so that I'll be able to have customizable controls in game that is player oriented. So this game will be able to be played. Right now I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, but it'll be able to be played with any controller or any dual stick controller. I guess maybe it could be played with almost any controller. But there's a lot of different guns. This gun is pretty much a jetpack. I don't know if it'll actually be in the final game. What else? I can do slow motion, as you can see. I will actually implement that in a way that's fun. Right now it's just if you're holding down the button, it goes into slow motion. Let's see what other cool guns are there. Let me get this box out of the way. Oh, this is a gun that goes around corners. Oh, so does this gun, sort of. Kind of like spreads around corners. This gun goes through walls. This gun is kind of like a flamethrower. But yeah, it's all a work in progress. The background is going to be completely replaced. All of that like silver, gray, and black stuff you see way back there, that's all going to be replaced. Probably going to replace the stuff that I'm walking onto. Maybe make some simple models that look a little bit better than what's currently there. What else? I don't know, that's pretty much it. I need to work on enemy AI once I get the controls implemented, because right now that's supposed to be an enemy, but it needs a lot of work. There's like, that enemy barely does anything right now. So yeah, that's prototype recoil, and hopefully it will be on the Ouya. Whoops, I moved my window. I guess it doesn't matter, I didn't move it that much. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, I really got to figure out the most fun way to implement bullet time, and I really got to take into consideration that this is going to be a co-op game. So I was thinking, like, what if bullet time is something that you got to do to work together with, like, maybe if you're playing two players, both players, like, once they score up enough points, they can use their slow-mo together. But do you generate the levels procedurally? No, not for this one. Yeah, because I kind of want it to be more of like a challenge platformer, sort of like Super Meat Boy. No, I'm not using Unity Pro. It's just Unity Basic. I haven't spent any money. I'm using all free software. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, kind of like Super Meat Boy or They Bleed Pixels. Trying to think of any other examples. I don't want to say I want to be the guy, but yeah, I want to be the guy is a bad example. But yeah, and I'm not sure how puzzly I want to make the game. I don't want it to be a puzzle platformer. I kind of want it to be more of an action challenge platformer with co-op play. I think that sounds like more fun, and the development time of that would be a lot faster, because like coming up with unique puzzles would be really time consuming, and creating the mechanics for those puzzles. So I think I'm going to focus mostly on action, and I think this day and age, I think a action platformer is something that would be taken pretty well, and I think people are probably tired of puzzle platformers, and I mean, myself included. I think I do like puzzle platformers, but I haven't played one in a while, and I think it would be really refreshing to play a action platformer, and I'm looking forward to this gameplay. I can't wait to like be able to play from the couch with friends and that kind of stuff. I think I really want to focus on the fun part of it. How do you make blank work on Dropbox? You mean web player? Your Unity web player? I'll pull up the tutorial that It Hurts had made. Oh wait, It Hurts. Here we go. I did previously search it. This video will show you how to do that. I don't have it yet. It's okay. Dolly Loop is talking about a game, I guess. The newest update, the lighting doesn't work. Huh. Not sure exactly. Like, dynamic shadows, that kind of lighting, or like actual like point lights and simple stuff like that, like point lights, directional lights, and spotlights. My game is like this. I better be aware of any other games that are similar to mine. Oh, okay. I like the art style. Oh, this looks like a fun game. This game actually looks really cool. I love that art style. No Time to Explain. Is that the name of the game? Let's just check. I just want to see the name of this game. No Time to Explain. Okay. I'm going to want to check out that game more. That looks cool. I really like that art style. Oh, that could be it. Yeah, your pixel light count and the quality settings. Yeah, turn it up to like 200 or something. That might fix it. Yep. Very true, Dolly Loop. It's hard to get into it sometimes. Are you aware of the new Unity tutorials that are actually on the Unity website? Like if you go to Unity3D.com and click on like Learn or something, they actually have some great beginner tutorials that will set the foundation for you. I haven't watched all of them, obviously, but they look really good and really well put together and look like they're good information. So that might be helpful in case you're looking for, you know, more stuff to help guide you and get you into this coding thing. Because, yeah, your first bit of coding can be pretty tough. Oh, and if you've never coded before, use JavaScript. Now that I've been using C# quite a bit, and I feel like I know the difference between C# and JavaScript now, I can safely say that if you've never programmed it before and Unity3D is your first time getting into anything that has to do with programming, use JavaScript. It will... Oh, wait. Yeah, I've done... There's a little more advanced, but my code is C# and 1,000 lines long. So, well, I guess if you already got 1,000 lines of C#, you're pretty much past the point of no return. But I was going to say, like... if you've never programmed before, use JavaScript because JavaScript is so much more forgiving and flexible and easier to read and just works like C#. There's a lot of things that happen in C# that like would normally get in the way if you were learning. Where like I don't know, like there's like a lot of things like where you'll get glitches and not really realize why, and you wouldn't get those glitches in in JavaScript. So yeah. Um Okay. And one thing to point out is that Java is actually different from JavaScript. Java is like it's totally different, and it's sometimes used with Unity 3D. Like I've seen it like with Android. Like some people had like things built in JavaScript or Java, not JavaScript. So you know, sometimes people get mad on the internet when you say Java instead of JavaScript, and it can be a confusing thing. People can think you're talking about something else. Um, but wait, oh okay, we're talking about someone's game. Wait, why do you roll your eyes in the back of your head when you finish a long sentence or when you turn to the chat box? Oh, I don't know. Do I roll my eyes? Maybe I usually roll my eyes when I'm talking about Call of Duty. That's kind of like a bad habit that I'm in because I don't mean to just rip on video games, but I mean I think part of it is that my webcam is right here, and it feels weird talking directly to it. Like I don't know. It probably looks normal to you guys when I look directly at that webcam. If I just stare directly at it, it feels weird to me. Um, but actually what's happening is I have a dual monitor setup. So the chat window physically for me is over there, and my computer screen where I work is physically over there. So that's why I look from side to side. And I kind of did that on purpose because I was thinking like if I'm looking over here, people will know that I'm talking to them because it looks kind of like I'm looking at the chat. When I'm looking over here, it looks more like I'm looking at my desktop and I'm working. So people will be able to tell whether or not I'm looking at what they're saying, hopefully. But yeah. Um, yeah, it does feel weird when I stare because it's weird either way because like if I stare directly at it, it feels weird. But if I like talk like to the chat window, which is what I kind of tend to do a little bit, I either talk to the chat window or I look at the image of myself on the computer screen. So like either way, it's like weird. I can't figure out where I should look, and like yeah, I don't know, because it's kind of like if you guys ever like talk to somebody who like doesn't ever quite make eye contact with you, like they're always looking at like your ear or something, or like they're looking like just over your head where they could be looking at you, but they're looking over your head, and it's like you're like just so close to making eye contact, and it's like that really awkward space. So I'm talking to myself. Yes, sort of. Well, I mean, 38 people are watching this right now. So theoretically, I'm talking to 38 people. But yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty much talking to myself. Oh yeah, I should just wear sunglasses. GD Neo. Actually, maybe I should, because these lights are really bright and kind of like get annoying. I guess they're not really that bright. I don't know. Oh yeah, one of the key things about that Dropbox thing is you gotta link the HTML file, not the .unity3d file, the HTML file. And they gotta be in the same folder, and it's gotta be a public folder. I think that's what the whole thing comes down to. Switched from JavaScript to C Sharp. I don't know if I would go back to C Sharp if all of my code in this game wasn't already in C Sharp. Obviously, I'll go back to it since the game's all written in C Sharp. Um, but yeah, I don't know if like say for example like my next game, will my next game be in all C Sharp? Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Um, there's some things I like about JavaScript and there's some things I like about C Sharp. But yeah. You can afford glasses but not heating. Everybody has their priorities. Yep. But yeah, hopefully soon you guys won't have to see me all bundled up and wearing a hat and this ugly. It's not that ugly of a hat. No, it's kind of ugly. I don't know. But hopefully soon I won't be wearing this in every live stream because spring is sort of coming around the corner. Snow is starting to melt where I live. I know some of you probably live where it's like super, super warm and toasty out, and I'm super jealous of you. Can you go into more detail about the difference between JavaScript and C# and how you feel about both of them? Okay. That's a good subject. Whoops. So, basically, I think JavaScript is like the beginner language and C# is the advanced language. I mean, those are really the only two languages that you're going to be using inside of Unity3D. Unity3D does offer Boo, but I don't know anything about Boo, so I can't comment on Boo, and I don't know anybody who uses Boo, so let's just leave Boo out of the picture. Nobody knows what Boo is for. But, like, JavaScript has something called dynamic typing, which basically means that if you write something like var bullets equals 5, it's going to assume that bullets is an integer, and it's going to automatically convert that. You don't have to specify that it's an integer variable. You just say bullets equals 5. You know, it usually centers around variables, but then there's also a lot of things like it will convert. Like if you call a function that returns a type of variable and you're like in your code you're not using it exactly right. There's a lot of things in JavaScript that will like assume what you're trying to do and it will just do it. So it won't necessarily be performance optimized and fast, but it makes up for your mistakes. And if you want JavaScript to be fast, all you do is at the top of your JavaScript script, you put what is it? Pragma strict. You're gonna have to look up the exact syntax of that. I think it's like number symbol pragma strict or something like that. But basically what that will do is it will turn off dynamic typing, and then it will give you a bunch of errors where you would have where it uses dynamic typing. So if you use dynamic typing in your script, and so something like var bullets equals 5, it's going to return you an error after you put that pragma strict in there, because it's going to be like, that's dynamic typing, that's slow, and like it'll warn you. So that's a way of making sure that your JavaScript is set up nice and fast. But C# does that automatically. There's no option for dynamic typing as far as I know. So you got to make sure you specify all of your variables. Even when you are assigning a number to a float variable, you need to put a little f after the number to show the system that that is a float and not an integer. Otherwise, you're going to get back errors. And so like with C#, there's a lot of stuff like that where you got to get everything exactly the way it wants it. But, you know, that does mean that C# is going to be less potentially slow, because JavaScript and C# have the same, you know, they're the same speed essentially. But what it really comes down to is that JavaScript can be really slow, and C# can be a little slow, but JavaScript can definitely be a lot slower. But, you know, it's not like one of them is going to be way faster than the other. It depends on how poorly you performance optimize your code. It's just that C# can be like, I don't know. And also, like, I think JavaScript is easier to read, but I think that's a personal preference thing. Both of them really aren't that hard to read. They're not that different. They all share the same. If you go to the Unity scripting reference and you go to runtime classes, both C# and JavaScript use all of that. So all of your core functions and stuff like transform, GameObject, vector3s, quaternions, slurp, mathf, random, cameras, materials, textures, everything, you know, all of that stuff is going to be the same between JavaScript and C#. So you don't really need to worry about that between the two. And then C# can do some things more than what JavaScript can. It can like get under the hood a little bit, and it can do some behind the scenes things that are a little bit more complicated and a little bit more advanced. But I've hardly ever even tapped into any of those things from C Sharp. And like, I don't know, it really depends on like everything that you're doing, whether or not you're going to need that with C Sharp. And it's like, if you know that you need those advanced functions, you probably already are a C Sharp user. So, and it's really not that much of a stretch to go from JavaScript to C Sharp. Like if you spend a bunch of time learning JavaScript and then switch over to C Sharp, you're going to have like a 1 week transition period. It's not even going to slow you down that much because most of the code is the same. There's just like a couple of little things you need to keep in mind and a couple little quirks here and there that you got to learn. But then once you get over that, it's a really easy transition. So I would say what it really comes down to is if you've never used Unity 3D before, and you're trying to decide whether or not to make your game in JavaScript or in C Sharp or which one to spend time learning, if you already have a coding knowledge, whether that's in C, C++, C Sharp, Objective-C, or anything along those lines, like say you have a computer science degree, or you're just a programmer, like you know how to program and you want to get into making games. C Sharp's probably your best option since you already have a good handle on programming. But if you've never programmed before and making games and Unity 3D is your first time ever doing any kind of programming, go with JavaScript because it's going to be much more forgiving and you're going to be able to concentrate on learning how the system works as opposed to learning how all these tiny little quirks in the code works and why they're important. You can ignore that at first. It really doesn't matter. It's much more important to learn how the Unity 3D world behaves and all of the tools that are available to you through Unity 3D. And I think JavaScript just makes it easier to learn all that stuff because you don't need to concentrate on like the really like little tiny technical things that, you know, they make a difference, but at first you don't need to worry about why they make a difference. There's so many more important things that you need to learn first. So I think JavaScript is just going to make it less distracting to learn the important things. So I think that's what it really comes down to. I've programmed before, but I chose JavaScript. Was that a bad choice? No, that was not a bad choice. That's perfectly fine. I've used JavaScript for like 2 years, like 2.5 years or something, and now I'm just finally getting into C Sharp. And honestly, this whole, like, I have like a 800 lines of code in this C Sharp script that I have right now, and I'm kind of at the point right now where I'm like, I could have done that in JavaScript, and it would have been exactly the same. So, yeah, so it doesn't really matter that much, and if it does matter for your particular case, then you will know. Like if you know that you're doing something so advanced that it can only be done in C Sharp, then you will have already had a handle on this. Whereas, you know, if you're considering JavaScript, it's probably safe. So yeah, I'd say, you know, it's not that big of an issue to choose one or the other. I think people make it seem like a bigger issue than it really is. And learning between the two isn't actually that hard. Like, you can convert knowledge from C Sharp into JavaScript without that much of an issue. Oh yeah, another thing that comes up with C Sharp is when you're Google searching C Sharp and how to do things in C Sharp, I think there's much more of a tendency to get information from sources that have nothing to do with Unity 3D, and they're still relevant. So, that can be a bit confusing, whereas JavaScript or Unity JavaScript is just for Unity. You can't use that language anywhere else. Like, I think there's other versions of JavaScript out there, but it's technically the JavaScript that you're using in Unity is Unity JavaScript, and some people refer to it as Unity script. So, yeah, like, so if you search up that language, you're pretty much only going to get Unity 3D information. So I guess that's one other thing to keep in mind. Yeah, and C sharp is used in a lot of different applications. Like I I don't really want to say XNA as an example because that program is going to die very soon, last I heard. But that's what people used to make Xbox games on, and I guess PC games too. But I think it was originally designed for the Xbox. I could be wrong about that. But that used C sharp, and a couple of other things use C sharp, but I can't remember what else does. But yeah, C sharp is definitely used in a lot of different places, whereas Unity JavaScript is only used in Unity. Um, oh, am I ever going to let people see the Robot Zombies script? Yes, I really, really want to get that out there. I really want to let people download the project and modify it and do whatever they want with it. It's just I've been so busy, and I mean, especially for this past like week, I've been working on this controller input system. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I don't want to mentally move on to anything else until I finish this. So you guys might have noticed that there's been like a big pause in the number of videos that I've been putting out lately. And I definitely haven't been putting out any tutorials. And I was supposed to put out the C sharp shooter stuff, the Robot Zombies stuff. I haven't even released Robot Zombies Alpha 6, and that's just like, I have like just a tiny little bit left to do on it before I can release that. And so yeah, so basically hopefully I'll get to that stuff soon. But like I've kind of been in a place for the past week working on this controller input system and player input system that like I haven't wanted to mentally move on to anything else until I get this done, because I'm like, my brain's really focused on this right now, and I don't want to distract myself with anything else until I get this finished, because it's such like a complicated abstract system that I'm trying to create and solidify. And you know, I don't want to have anything else in my head while I'm trying to get this done. So hopefully soon. Yeah, hopefully soon. Another thing with the Robot Zombies project is that right now it's like 8 gigabytes or something. So I got to convert a whole bunch of PDFs into JPEGs, and I got to clean out a bunch of garbage and try to get it under 200 megabytes so that it's like a good size for people to download. But once that's up, I definitely want to get that up. So it's definitely something I still want to do. It's just a matter of I just got to do it. It's, yeah, 8 gigabytes to 200 megabytes. Yep. Well, the difference between a PSD and a JPEG is quite a bit, so I'm hoping that it's mainly the PSD files that are taking up so much memory. And then I'll probably like compress the audio music because it might be at a high bit rate, and I just need to convert it into something that's smaller. Got to make sure they're all MP3s. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, and I hope that I can get it under 200 megabytes. Um, yeah, gonna have to change a lot of file sizes because right now I think there's like there's a bunch of like 1024 size textures that are not utilizing that full size, so I'm gonna scale those down. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. So I don't want to move on to that until I get this controller input system done. But once I get this done, I will be able to mentally move on and do more things. But I got to focus on this right now. It's just the way my brain's working right now. I can't move on until I get it done. It's just been like inside my head for the past like week or 2 weeks. I can't remember how long I've been working on this. Robot Zombies the movie trailer now on YouTube. Wait, is that real? Did somebody really make a Robot Zombies trailer? But what are your reasons for what? Are we talking? I think we're like talking about what program's the best to use. See, all right, I'll add my little bit to this because I don't even need to read what everybody else was saying, because what it really comes down to is it doesn't matter what language you use. Use whichever one you want. It doesn't matter. I think a lot of people are like, they spend a lot of energy saying like, this one is better. And it's like, it doesn't matter at all. Just make a game. That's all it comes down to, is just what game you make with it. Like whatever works best for you works best for you. Like, I mean, you can even make a game without making any code at all. Like, use something like Playmaker or Unreal's Kismet system. You can create a good game, and it doesn't matter what you use. Just create the game. That's all it comes down to. It doesn't matter what you make it with. It matters what you make. That's all it is. And also, like, what's with this whole like C# is a rip off from Java? Like, I don't know any of that personally, like if any languages are a rip off of other languages, but that doesn't sound like it matters, because programming languages are so technical that I don't think the creative side of a programming language matters really that much, because you're trying to create a tool and create like, you know, it's all technical. It's all tools for creating something creative. Whereas if you're like you know, if it's something fully creative, you can rip something off. Like let's talk about, I don't know, Angry Birds or Minecraft or Call of Duty. What are some of the other ones that people always rip off of? But you know, there's always like these like set games, like the most popular games that everybody tries to rip off of. That's a rip off, because they're just trying to make money. They're not creating a tool, they're creating a product for people to buy and supposedly play and enjoy and have fun with. So that is a rip off. Whereas like programming languages, I don't think it's that big of an issue, because it's kind of like, okay, we have the architecture here. Let's just add this to it in order to create this technical thing, that we need this for these technical reasons. Like, it's all technical. Just create the technical side of it. And yeah. Do I know the Unity game Castle Story? I've heard of it. I haven't played it. I know it's one of those big games where people are like, look at what Unity can do. Which, how about I talk about that for a second? I definitely used to be in the same place. Like, I used to Google search games made in Unity, and like I remember Richard, what else was there? I don't know. But you know, you always look at the games, like the best looking games in Unity, and I think there's a real tendency for people to search up the engine and think, what kind of a game can you make in Unity? Oh, cool. Ray's name is Richard. But I think like when it really comes down to it, it doesn't matter what engine you're using. I mean, like, I guess, you know, you do want to see some proof that the engine can do, like, that it has certain features that you need, but like, it really comes down to just what game will you make. It doesn't matter like what you've seen other people make in the same engine, especially with Unity, because it's so flexible that it can create pretty much anything. But I guess I probably didn't know that in the very beginning, but that's something that I've learned, is that it only matters what you make. It doesn't matter what you've seen other people make. Like, every game is going to be different, and it really doesn't matter that much what engine you're in. Like, you know, if you're talking about the difference between Unreal, Unity, Frostbite, CryEngine, all of those things, like, yeah, it doesn't matter that much. Like, the same artwork that you import into all those different engines is, for the most part, going to look almost identical throughout all of those three engines. But then, of course, like, I know the Frostbite or CryEngine 4 or whatever does have, like, some tessellation system, which I guess now that Unity 4 has DirectX 11, I believe it is fully capable of doing tessellation and all of that advanced stuff. So I think now that Unity 4 has DirectX 11, now they're all completely on the same page. And yeah. Oh, Unity combines textures and reduces the draw calls? I didn't know that it did that. Like, automatically? Is that static or dynamic typing or something like that? I don't know. Have I ever heard of Scratch? I guess it's a school. I haven't heard of it. Um, right. That's true, Peanut IV. That's one thing I really like about Unity is that it's not like you open up Unity and you have a first-person shooter, like like you do in CryEngine or Unreal Engine. Um, and I think that's a personal preference thing, especially for me, because I don't know how hard it is. Like take Unreal for example. Like I remember when I was playing around with Unreal, I was trying to figure out how to just get rid of the first-person shooter because I was like, I want to create my game. I don't want to play with your first person shooter controller. It's good. Like, it's a really good first person shooter controller. Don't get me wrong, it plays very well. But I want to create my own thing. So, like, I couldn't find a way to just wipe that first person shooter controller out of there. Whereas, like, Unity, you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. So, that's something I prefer about Unity. Um, Scratch is a game maker that's super simple. Oh, okay, it's a program. Oh, okay. I haven't heard of it. Hmm. Yeah, I've never heard of Scratch. When the only like engines that I really recommend to people are either Unity3D or GameMaker. Or I guess the Unreal Engine. I sometimes will recommend it to some people depending on their project ideas and whether or not they have any programming skills. Like if they're artists, then I'd say go, or like if they're artists and they want to create a first person shooter based on like events and triggers and buttons and artwork things happening, the Unreal Engine is actually a really good choice because it just automatically has all of that stuff just ready to go pretty much. Do I have any tips on making cartoony textures for Quest of the for the Holy Stone? Oh yeah, cartoony textures. Um, I'm trying to remember Quest for the Holy Stone. That one wasn't it made in Java? And it was a pixel art game. I want to say if I remember it right. How to create cartoony textures. I don't think I'm a good enough artist to actually give exact. Uh, yeah, I don't think. Excuse me. Um, oh, maybe it wasn't. Oh, Cubarine. Oh, that's right. No clue. That's the one I was thinking of. So which one is Quest for the Holy Stone? It was a 2.5D platformer. Oh, yeah, where you were the yellow circle. Um, yeah, I guess since you are in Unity 3D, you could use the Toon shader. Um, yeah, that would probably be good. If people find Unity 3D hard, they'll be completely lost in Unreal. Um, well, actually, I think Unreal's pretty easy to use if you're only using the Kismet system and you're making a first-person shooter. Like, if you want to make a first-person shooter where you like if in your head you're thinking, like, maybe you're an artist or maybe you just want to get art from other places. I don't know. Like, I mean, let's take for example you're an artist and you created a bunch of models and animations and textures and you just want to put them into a game and you want your game to be okay, it's a first person shooter, you got to go down this hallway, you got to press this button, it unlocks that door over there, you go through that door, you go down this staircase, then you walk through here, these robot enemies spawn, and yeah, um like if you just want to do simple stuff like that and you're not really like changing the foundation of the system, the Unreal Engine's pretty simple. But if you want to change the foundation and actually create like new game mechanics and like new code and like actually make things different from the way that the system's just already set up, yeah, it's going to be really much more difficult than Unity. So yeah. Uh Wait, it's Unity 3D, but the version is 4? Oh, you're talking about Unity 3D 4? Yeah, you'll hear a lot of people say Unity 3 and Unity 4. They're talking about Unity 3.5 and the new Unity 4. It's just what version. But Unity 3D is the official name of the program. So it's like Unity 3D 3.5 and Unity 3D 4 are the two main versions of Unity 3D that people are using right now. So it sounded like somebody was getting a bit confused about that. Can I attach textures to a 3D model in Unity without generating their UV maps? Not really. You kind of got to go into the the UV maps in some way or another. Otherwise, your character is going to be like one solid color. And I think that solid color is just going to be whatever color the pixel is in the top left-hand corner of the texture that you use. I want to say that's what happens when you try to apply a texture to an un-UV mapped model. But you can do really simple UV mapping, or I call it stupid UV mapping, which is what I actually do a lot. So I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying like this technique is kind of stupid. That's just what I call it. It's just, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like if it works for you, it works, and it's worked for me many times. But what I do a lot is I'll just select the entire model and then go into line mode and just mark every single line on your model as a seam, and then cut it apart, and then it will just like show all of the triangles and polygons of your model on the UV map, and then just leave it that way. And then you can apply a texture to it, and you know, it'll be kind of cut up and choppy. But if it works for you, then it works, and that's like the simplest way that I know how to do UV mapping. But yeah. Itiski, what are your thoughts on people making 75% only FPS games? Are you saying 75% of games out there are FPS games? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this because I know a lot of people choose FPS games because they're learning. And I think there's two reasons for that. Like, I don't know what the motivating reason is. Like, I think the motivating reason is that there's a lot of popular games out there that are first-person shooters. And I think the first-person shooter genre is very relatable because in real life, we always see in first person. So it automatically feels more realistic. And I think realism is something that, like, especially now that we're like on the verge of creating near photorealistic graphics, I think like realism is something that people really want in their games, and I think there's kind of like a craze that's going around right now. So of course, like, I think, you know, since we always see in first person theoretically the most realistic, and I think also a lot of really popular games are first person, like Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, you know, whatever else there is. There's other first-person shooters that I'm sure are popular. I think those are like the three most popular ones that I can think of. So I think a lot of beginners tend to want to copy their favorite game, but they don't really realize how much work it is to copy a game that big. And then I think another reason why there's a lot of first-person shooters out there is that there's a lot of information on how to make first-person shooters. And I think like first-person shooters, like the bang for the buck sort of thing, like for the amount of code that you put into it, you do get a lot out of a first-person shooter. And it's like it's like a good first game because it's not so simple that you'll be bored, but it's not complicated enough that you can't implement your own new things. So I think since there's like a lot of tutorials out there on how to make first-person shooters and like the demand for first-person shooters, I think it's kind of just like a ongoing cycle, and it's a good place to learn. So I don't know. Um, I guess those are all my thoughts on it. Like, I guess it's good for learning, but the only time that it really pisses me off is when you see somebody with a lot of skill create something that is ridiculously boring. That you know that a lot of time and work went into that. And I'm really talking about the Call of Duty free-to-play browser knockoffs, like Unity games, like I don't know, I'm sure somebody can give me an example in the chat. I can't remember any of their names, like Modern Super Killer, Super Modern Combat. Like, there's got to be something, you know, there's a bunch of them that are just obviously trying to be like Call of Duty and Battlefield 4, except their twist is that they made it in Unity 3D, and it's free to play in browser, and it's multiplayer only, and it's not quite as good of graphics as Call of Duty or whatever. Like, those piss me off because there's nothing, like, I don't know, I can't speak for all of them, but for the ones that I've played, there's nothing that's like remotely unique about them. Like, they're just so generic, and it's like, why would you work so hard to create something that's so generic? Because you look at them and you can tell, like dang, a lot of craftsmanship and a lot of skill went into this, but it's so generic. Why would you spend so much time creating something so generic? And, you know, that kind of pisses me off. But as far as like people learning how to make their first game, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because you're learning. You know, but like those people who are already that good, they're obviously not learning anymore. I mean, well, you never stop learning, but like, you know, they obviously got over, you know, making their first game and stuff like that. So why do you continue to create something so generic? Like, it makes sense when you're first working on it, because you can turn to almost anybody in the Unity 3D community and be like, how do you do this in a first-person shooter? And there's going to be somebody who knows, because so many people have made first-person shooters inside of Unity 3D, so people will be able to tell you, and there's information readily available. So I don't know. I guess those are my thoughts. Did you hear government is cutting money out of some science programs? Huh. Well, since we're dealing with the internet here, which country's government? We could be talking about any country, but I guess it doesn't really matter which country. I guess that's bad. Like, science is one of the few things that, like, in school I feel is like, I don't know. Super Boss Games Intruder looks really good. Yeah, Super Boss Games. That is, I'm glad you brought that up, because we're talking about first-person shooters inside of Unity 3D. What I love about Super Boss's game, Intruder, it's, you know, at first glance, it might look like another stereotypical first-person shooter inside of Unity 3D. But once you start looking at the game mechanics, there's a lot of things in there that are really different from other first-person shooters, and I really hope they continue to push that and continue to come out with even more creative things. And like there's stuff like you can get shot in the shoulder and fall over, and you can play dead and not actually be dead, and then when somebody walks by, your dead body can like pop, like stand up and shoot them. And like, there's a lot of really interesting stuff like that. And then there's stuff like, if you get hit by a grenade and you fly backwards and break through a panel of glass, if you land in water, you won't die. And like, there's a bunch of really interesting things like that, where they're really changing up the gameplay. And that's what I really love about Intruder. Like, you know, I feel like it still needs more. I mean, basically the new things that they added, I loved so much that I want to see more of it. So like, that game's really cool because they're changing it. Like, it's not another stereotypical first-person shooter. I mean, there's a lot of things in there that are stereotypical first-person shooter, but I just hope they really emphasize even more on the things that aren't in every first-person shooter. I really want them to take this game and make it super unique and really hit that like niche market of people who want a first-person shooter that's really different. Because if they start catering to the mass markets and going like, oh, this is gonna confuse people, like I know what was there was some game mechanic where they like, we decided to make it more like this since that's what players are used to. I wanted to be like, no, don't do things because you think players are used to it. You got to make this game new and different. Like put everybody on this new playing field where like everything's different. Everybody has to learn from the beginning, because there are a million games out there that are all the same. Like all the first person shooters out there, like they're all very, very similar. So do something different, and they are doing a lot of things different. So it's pretty cool. But yeah. Uh, um, Zed. I usually export it as a .fbx file, but I know you can import a .blend file. Um, that's really all I have. I don't have much more than that. Um, that is an interesting question, Gayami, or I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Um, that sort of thing comes down more to like a moral compass sort of thing, where unless there's something really fancy going on in the metadata of your files, the companies are not going to track your Cinema 4D license, and they're not going to be able to tell um, where it came from. As far as I know, I mean, there's always a chance, um, but I don't know. I personally just try to avoid all pirated software in the first place, because I don't think it helps you at all. I think it's a crutch, and it's just going to be something you're going to have to hide, and it's more of a hassle than how it will help you. Um, because if you learn how to use the free software or software that you actually own, you have nothing to worry about. You will not have that question. Um, and especially when it comes to publishing your game and selling your game, you're not going to have any question. You'll be able to confidently tell people, I made this completely on my own, totally legally, and I can sell this. Like, whatever. Get me a lawyer. Like, that will never come down to that. But, like, I think it's just shooting yourself in the foot by using pirated software. I think it's hurting you more. And when I say you, I mean anybody who uses pirated software. I'm not talking about just you. So I would say it's probably going to be worth it to learn Blender, because you're never going to have to worry about getting updates from Blender. You're not going to have to worry about getting viruses. You're not going to have to worry about, I don't know, you're not going to have to worry about whether or not you're legally going to be able to sell your game. So I'd say if you can't afford Cinema 4D, just don't get it. I mean, well, obviously you already have it, but like, I would say it's worth it to switch over to Blender. I know it's going to be hard at first. If you want, I mean, I guess if you could use Cinema 4D for learning, if you want to learn how to model. The problem is that Cinema 4D is probably going to have a lot of tools that are going to kind of streamline, tools that are meant for kind of beginners as far as modeling goes. But hopefully if you already have a base knowledge of modeling and you know all of the terms like extruding, lines, vertex, points, what else is there, UV mapping, and all of that stuff, that's going to be a good foundation of knowledge to help you transfer over to Blender. So yeah, I'd say it'd probably be very worth it to switch over to Blender, because you're not going to have to worry at all. You won't have to ask that question, because you will know that you're doing it legally. So, I think it's the safer route to avoid pirated software. Um, yeah. Um, Adrian KS, GIMP, Paint.net. I think GIMP if you're on a Mac and Paint.net if you're on a PC. I think those are the free image editing softwares that I would recommend. I'm trying to think if I know of any other ones. Those are the only free ones that I know of. You're welcome, Gayemi. That's a good metaphor, stubbing my toe. I think to add to that metaphor, I'd say like, what if, Sears or Snap-on had terrible security and it was ridiculously easy to shoplift from those places and to steal stuff from them, and they were still making tons of money, and you didn't actually have to feel guilty about Sears or Snap-on. Because I think like that's another thing is like I don't like as far as like Unity or Cinema 4D or Adobe or whatever other big company, like you don't have to worry too much about their well-being. Like first of all, they all have jobs and they're like multi-million-dollar companies. So, I think it's don't worry about them. It comes down to you. Like, I think it's more harmful to yourself than it is to the company. So, think about like yourself as well. Can you explain more about the Unity 3D indie license and what that means? Also, is there a chance to pirate it and sell your game after that by a license? Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know personally if you can pirate Unity Pro and then buy it later, but don't bother. Unity Pro has nothing that's like limiting you from creating your game. It has some nice little tools. It has some nice little visual effects. It has nav mesh pathfinding, but it's not actually that good. There's free solutions such as Rain Indie that are better than Unity Pro's nav mesh pathfinding. So there's a lot of things in Unity Pro that are cool, but nothing that Unity Pro offers that isn't in Unity Free will stop you from creating a good video game. So make your entire game in Unity Free, and then later on, if you have the money or get the funding or whatever, then get Unity Pro and then start adding on all of those things, because it's not going to change the way you make the game. They're going to be like visual effects that you can add on later. And so, yeah, don't pirate Unity Pro thinking that you're going to buy it later. It's just going to be so much of a hassle, and you don't know whether or not it's legal, and there's a chance that you won't be able to sell your game, and that Unity is going to catch you. And yeah, it's just such a hassle. It's not worth it. Having Unity Pro isn't going to make you make a better game. That's something I really want to put out there. Having Unity Pro does not mean your game is going to be better in any way. It's going to mean you have visual effects. That's it. So don't worry about it. And visual effects aren't everything. They're barely anything at all. Like, focus on the gameplay, make stand-in visual effects, just make like simple visual effects, or just maybe say blood on the screen and stuff like that. And there's also a lot of like workarounds in Unity Free. Like, I know there's like a $20 asset on the Unity Asset Store to get dynamic shadows in Unity Free. And there's also some visual effects that you can get in Unity Free that are like $20 on the Unity Asset Store. So stuff like that. So you really don't need Unity Pro, and if later on you do decide that you have enough money for Unity Pro, you can add in all of the Unity Pro features later. You don't need them from the very start. What do you think of people copying your games and putting them on YouTube? I've seen them, and people copy Berserk Arcade and claim it's their own. Well, Berserk Arcade has an entire tutorial set on how to make a game, so technically they might have still made the game. It's just they're following Berserk's tutorial set. I think it comes down to, like, in that situation, I think that comes down to, like, just being nice. Like, if I am going to make a game based off of a tutorial set and somebody spent hundreds of hours creating this tutorial set, I'm going to give that guy credit because, you know, he worked so hard creating this tutorial set that I wouldn't have had the knowledge to create this game otherwise without that. So damn right I'm going to give that guy credit because he worked really hard and really helped me out. So, you know, I was saying that all metaphorically. I've actually hardly ever watched any of Berserk Arcade's tutorials, though I've heard great things about them, and the few that I have watched were really good. So Berserk Arcade is really cool. So that's how I feel about it, about that particular situation. But as far as copying games, like I know, let's take, for example, Red Alliance. It's been, I've actually did the one of the characters' voice acting in Red Alliance. And that's based off of the FPS1 tutorial series. Like, the first few updates of that game, like if you go back and watch the first few update videos, it's like almost exactly, like there's a lot of stuff in there that's almost exactly FPS1. But then later on, so many unique things were added to it that it was barely the same as FPS1 at all, and you could hardly tell it was the same engine at all, and he added so many of his own unique things, so it's very safe to say that that is now his game. That is now Roman's game. Roman is the guy that made it. So, I don't know. I think if you copy anything, you got to give people credit, and I think it also depends on in which way are you copying? Like, are you creating an Angry Birds knockoff because you think it's going to get you rich? Then you're an idiot. But, like, if you're copying, let's say, Braid, except you're an alien instead of a guy. I don't know. That was the first example I could think of off the top of my head. And, I don't know, like, because nothing is 100% original, like, especially in video games. Everything takes inspiration from something else. So I think it really comes down to creating new things in a creative way based off of, like, things that you've seen and combining them in creative ways. And I think it really comes down to, like, there's the type of copying where you're just trying to make money. And then there's the kind of copying where you're like, I love this game. I want to make a game like this because I love that game so much and it inspired me so much. Like, still add your own thing. Like, I think you should never make a game without adding your own thing to it. But, do I think Battlefield was a copy of Call of Duty? I have no idea. I don't know which one came first. All I know is that whenever I see the two of them playing, like if I see them side by side, I can't tell which one's which. They look identical to me. Hey, Real Entropy. People were really pissed off in the Unity forums. About what? Is it possible to make money for buying the Unity Android license by selling stuff on the Unity store? Yeah, that's what the Unity store was made for. Are you saying stuff that's only meant to be used for the Android license? Which, once again, yes. I've seen a lot of stuff, like the other day I saw an asset that was just, gyroscope controls for like $10, and gyroscope is only for iOS, which pisses me off because it's such a good feature to have in phones, and Apple had to copyright it like hardcore so nobody else could use gyroscopes in their phones. But anyways, that's besides the point. So that was a tool. Well, actually no, that did go towards my point. That was a tool that is only for iOS. So Yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea to, if you have something that's only for Android and Android users would find it really useful, definitely put it on the Unity Asset Store and see if people are interested in buying it. I mean, you really don't have much to lose when it comes to the Unity Asset Store, so it's always worth a shot. What resolution is my monitor? It's 1920 by 1200, and I can't remember how big it is. I want to say it's like 23, 24 inch, something like that. It's talking about stealing Unity demos. Oh, I see what you're saying. Taking apart the Unity demos and putting them back together in a different way. Actually, on the previous Show Your Work live stream, there's a great example of this, and just that person in general is a great example. Chrome FX. I don't know if he's here today, but I think he's a good example of that because I've seen a lot of his games, and a lot of them are that he like takes apart the Unity demos and puts them back together in a totally unique way. So that's pretty cool because like he takes a bunch of models that everyone's like, you know, of course I've seen that before. It's, you know, I've seen all those models when you turn on Unity for the first time and all of the demo projects. Like, you know, of course people are going to recognize those models, but that's not the point. He's, you know, using those as artwork just to be like a placeholder. And it's really the code and the gameplay and the experience and all of that stuff that he's focusing on, not the original artwork. So I think it can be kind of cool to use the artwork used from Unity demos and like that whole, like that zombie that everybody uses that has like, I think it says like "I'm with stupid" on his shirt, or maybe it says something else. It says something on his shirt, and it's like, you know, that zombie that everybody uses. So I think it's cool to use those things, but it's not cool to try to use those things and pretend like you didn't, or and pretend like you made them, or try to hide the fact that like you didn't make them. Like if you're trying to hide it, that's kind of dumb. You should just be out in the open and honest about it. Be like, yeah, I took all of these demos. I took their models because they were royalty free, because they're, actually, I don't know if they're royalty free, but they're in the Unity demo or Unity demo projects. Like, yeah, I took those models. Of course you're going to recognize those. That's not the point. But if you're trying to hide that, that's kind of stupid because, you know, people are going to find out. So I can't use Unity Store to sell actual games. I think you can sell game projects so that people can like go into your game project and modify it into their own game. I think you can do that. But if you just want to sell a game, no. Use like Desura or GOG or Gamersgate, or if you're really lucky, Steam, or you can distribute it from your own personal website. What else is there? But yeah, like, yeah, it's meant for tools to use to make other games for the Unity Asset Store, because the only way to get things off of the Unity Asset Store is to import them directly into the Unity3D, so, or into the Unity3D editor. So, you know, it's not a good place to put actual games. Is this live stream just for making game questions, or can I ask other kinds of questions? Sure. Anything. I mean, this is really not planned at all. Oh, I forgot my title still says working on making games. Oh, well. But yeah, I mean, it's all focused on playing games and making games and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. We haven't really been very focused. I mean, the live stream started off with us talking about Twilight and Host. So, with all the money Steam has, why don't they make the games free? You mean the Valve games, such as Left 4 Dead, Half-Life, Team Fortress is free. Are you talking about those games? And I think they also, oh no, they have 2 free games. They have Team Fortress 2 and some other MOBA game, I believe. Yeah, you would think that they would like make all their Half-Life games free as well, because like it's like they get 30% of every successful PC game in the world. So they're ridiculously rich. So yeah, you would think that they'd be able to give their games away for free. Yeah, it'd be kind of nice if they did, but maybe it's one of those things where they don't necessarily need the money, but the game doesn't feel like it has value unless you actually give money to play that game. Maybe it's one of those things where it's kind of like let's say Half-Life Episode 3 was completely free, and people didn't play it. It wouldn't feel like it had as much value because it's free. I don't know. Why would they make it free when they can make money? They're a business. Well, having free games on their service would build up traffic, but then again, everybody already uses Steam. Why doesn't Microsoft give out Windows for free? Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. It would be nice if they gave away things for free, but of course. Yeah, plus I assume that would be pretty, like, if they did give away some of, like, their Half-Life games for free, I would assume that everybody who worked on the game Half-Life would feel kind of gypped. They'd be like, I worked really hard creating this game. I mean, of course, there's, like, a team of, like, 200 people or something like that. So, like, all of those people would be like, we worked really hard making this game, and you're just going to give it away for free? Like, our game's worth more than that, so I think it also comes down to the actual developers. But I don't know. I'm not a business major or anything like that. Why do I like Unity? I like Unity because it lets you really focus on the actual game part. So as opposed to something like Unreal, where it automatically has a first-person shooter for you, or I guess I'm trying to think of something new that I can say that I didn't already say in this live stream. Yeah, I don't know. It's really, it takes away all of the things that aren't fun to program on. So it's basically a way of you being able to create a completely new game without reinventing the wheel. So you can invent a new game without reinventing the wheel. I think that's what it really comes down to. That's why I like Unity. Will we be making, wait, can we get to making games soon? What do you mean? On this live stream? This particular live stream is supposed to be DevTalk / Q&A. I just accidentally forgot to change the title of the live stream. I know it says working on making games. I just forgot to rename the title, so it's DevTalk / Q&A, not working on making games, so that's what's going on. Can you make a video where you show where you show how to sell stuff on the Unity store? There's already a really good video out there, and there's really not that much that goes into it. Like, if you just search up, like, Unity, it's on the Unity3D, able to beat the video that they have, because, yeah, the video that they already have is perfectly adequate. Like, I have no extra information that video doesn't already have, and that video already covers it more professionally than I do, and I assume that if anything in the Unity store changes, they'll change their video as well, so I don't think it's anything I'm going to make a video on, because there's really nothing that goes into it. You just make it and you click upload. It's really all that goes into it. I do not watch Doctor Who, so I don't have anything to say on that. Real Entropy says, will you be doing any Wings or Blender tuts? Not very soon, that's for sure. I've just been so busy, I haven't been able to do any tutorials in a long time. I know that, you know, people have been asking me for tutorials, and like, hey, your name's Etiski Tutorials, where are the tutorials? Like, I realize that. I've just been so busy, and I got a lot of stuff on my plate right now, and I really want to get this game out when the Ouya launches. And like mentally, I haven't been able to move away from this game at this current time because I've been working so hard at the controller input system. So yeah, I just really just haven't had the time. But as far as will I do any Blender or Wings Tuts, I don't know. I know there's, wait, ETSKI, there are need for complete tutorials on Blender. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, I can't say yes or no right now. And if I do, it's not going to be very soon. I gotta free up some time for myself before I can start getting into making more tutorials. One thing about the Blender tutorials that are already out there is I kind of wish that there were some tutorials, I haven't found any yet, that are directly meant for video games. Like if I were to make them, I would be like, this is how you use Blender to make games for Unity 3D. And like, you know, of course the same techniques would probably apply identically to say Unreal or any other 3D engine, but like I'd want it to just be like no questions asked, like this is how you use it for Unity 3D. So I don't know if there's any tutorials that are already like that, because I think a lot of them will start going into, and now this is how you render the image, and like they'll start getting into things that you will never use inside of Unity 3D. So, and for beginners, it might be hard to tell what you can and can't use in Unity 3D. So, I don't know. Oh yeah. Those scripts, I'm gonna delete them eventually. I just have them in place just to save text. It was just for copying and pasting purposes. I'm gonna delete those. Those don't actually do anything. They're just there to hold some text in case I screw up and need that text later on. That's really all it's for. There's a British dude that does Blender 3D plus Unity tutorials. Oh, cool. Wait, do the number of scenes on the asset folder affect the final game size, even if the scenes are not that big? I think a little, but you can always go to, like, let me take this project for example. I'll go to Platformer, Level 3, right click, Show in Explorer, and now you'll be able to see the exact file type. It's a level 3.unity3d, and it's only 54 kilobytes. So to answer your question, I guess no. 54 kilobytes is like nothing. So I wouldn't worry about the number of scenes in your game. I don't think it'll affect your final game size very much. My biggest scene is 160 kilobytes. So once again, it's really not that much. So you can do this with any files inside of Unity 3D or inside of your project. Just right click and then Show in Explorer or Show in Finder if you're on a Mac. And you can get the exact file sizes and find out exactly how much memory you are using. Wait, my friend was a poll, and apparently over 75% will use the Ouya to do for dev purposes. Not that good. 75% of people want to make games on the Ouya. Ooh. That is not that good. No turning back now. Who knows? Maybe it'll be one of those things where it'll be kind of like a developer to developer thing. I don't know. I'm hoping that it picks up some popularity. It might take a little bit of time, but I hope that there's a need for indie games, because I think it's really going to be like the Xbox Live Indie Arcade, except in Ouya. Plus, it's a great budget system, and you can use it as like your Netflix streamer or your Hulu streamer, which is great because like if you want to use your Xbox for that, you have to have Xbox Live Gold in order to use Netflix, which is stupid. But with the Ouya, you don't. You buy the $100 system and you can stream Netflix from it. So I'm hoping some people will buy it just for a Netflix streamer. I mean, plus it hasn't come out yet, and I think, I think part of it might be that the reason why 75% of it is devs right now is that developers look at the hardware and, the software environment and think, I want to make a game for that. Like, whereas I think players who want to just play games, they're going to look at what games there are to play. Whereas right now, there's really hardly anything on the Ouya that like shows like this is what you will get when you buy an Ouya. Whereas like with an Xbox, people go, Xbox means Halo, Xbox means Gears of War, Xbox means Call of Duty. And Ouya doesn't have anything like that yet. Like right now, Ouya means I can make a game for Ouya. So I'm hoping once those games are made, people will see Ouya means indie games. And so hopefully that's what happens. But it's all up in the air right now. It might be a total flop. There's really no for sure way of knowing right now. Are you a brony? Oh, no. I know what a brony is, though. I'm not a brony. You like the Xbox arcade system. Right, the Xbox arcade system is okay, but the Xbox indie arcade system is awful. Going back to XNA, you could make your game for free with XNA, yeah, but there's Xbox licenses to get your game on the Xbox, or at least on the, I don't know exactly how it works, I haven't looked totally into it, but I know that like making a game for Ouya so much better than anything Xbox can do. Like I've actually talked to multiple people that work at the Ouya company, and like for example Tim he's basically the main guy behind the Unity side of Ouya. And like I've had multiple conversations with him, and he's helped me out with technical issues in my game, and he's helped out a lot of other people's technical issues in their game, and over like a Google Plus Hangout, not even just like in a forum. Like, so that kind of support is like amazing, and that's something you'll never get with Xbox. And with Xbox, you're only allowed to update your game once. Otherwise, it's like $30,000 or something ridiculous. $100 to make an Xbox XNA game. So it's a $100 license. Yeah. Oh, and don't you have to have Unity Pro? I think you also have to have Unity Pro, but I'm not entirely sure about that. So that's another $1,500 you got to add to your budget. $100 for a year. Ha 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 ha. Screw you, Xbox. The Ouya doesn't have that. The Ouya has no developer license fees. You do have to pay for the Unity Android license fee, but that's a one-time purchase. That's going to be fully, you can keep using that until Unity 5 comes out. No Unity. Oh, you can't make Xbox games with Unity anymore? But, oh yeah, less games equals less competition. That's true. Because like right now, if I want to make a game for Xbox, I'm automatically competing against Geometry Wars, Castle Crashers, what other Xbox Live arcade games are there? I don't know, all the big Xbox Live arcade games. There's already a lot of them. There's a bunch of them that use your avatar characters and stuff. And then on top of that, I would also be competing with Halo, Gears of War, Call of Duty, and all of those giant titles. Whereas with the Ouya, it's this like separate thing, and I'm hoping that people really like the indie side of it, and also really like the portability of the Ouya and the price of the Ouya. I don't know. I hope that it catches on, and I hope that people enjoy I hope that consumers can appreciate the how nice the Ouya is to developers. I hope that consumers will appreciate that as much as the developers do. So I don't know. It's all up in the air. I don't really know. Isn't XNA being scrapped? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Um, right, that's a good point, Squared 55. There's going to be much more focus on gameplay than like trying to be like, this is the greatest graphics ever. Like, super, super. I don't know. That's my impression of a AAA game. Like, explosions, super Hollywood, lots of money. Like, I hope that people are getting tired of that, or at least I hope that there's enough people out there that want the indie side, that really want to focus on the gameplay, because I know there are a lot of people out there that like indie games. I think most of the indie game fanatics out there are mostly PC gamers. But if you own a gaming PC, hopefully you already have a little bit of money, and an Ouya wouldn't be that much of a stretch. And hopefully there's people who want to play indie games from their couch. So, yeah, I don't know. Can displacement, um, wait, specular maps you can definitely use in Unity. I'm pretty sure you can use displacement or tessellation, especially with Unity 3D now uses DirectX 11. Um, and occlusion maps. Unity Pro has occlusion calling, or do you mean like ambience occlusion? It does have ambience occlusion. It has beast light mapping, which has ambience occlusion. It works pretty well. Um, yeah, YouTube definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that cover only Unity games on YouTube now, which is awesome. I really like that. I think there's definitely like a new like awareness of indie games, and I think there's like a growing audience that's appreciating indie games, and I'm definitely one of those people. So, but then again, I don't know if I really count because I make indie games, so of course I'm gonna appreciate indie games. So I'm hoping there's a lot of players that just play games that do appreciate indie games. Hmm. I like how Squared 55 is the person who said that hobbyist AI can outdo multi-million dollar companies, because Squared 55 has really good AI in his game. I don't know if everybody knows, but like his game Paragon has really good AI. Um, is the stream ending at 4? Oh, yeah, I guess it probably should. Trying to think, what do I have to do today? I got, I gotta go do some things later, so I want to get some coding done before then. But yeah. Let's see. I guess I can scroll through and see if there's any other questions. Any little last minute things that anybody wanted to add before I end the live stream? Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, real entropy. What time is it? Well, it's almost 4 o'clock where I am right now. It's like 3:58. But yeah, that's a good point. Oversaturation of indie games. Um, I think indie games are so much more unique though. So, like, since they're so unique, like, and there's always a growing audience, like there's what, like 8 billion people in the world now. So like the number of human beings on this planet is constantly growing. So the audience for these indie games is going to constantly grow, and the more unique all of these games get, the more like you find like niche marketplaces. um and yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. I guess I don't really have too much to comment on that. But where were we? Yeah, that's a good point. Well, not every game on Steam is good. There's also like what is it? Something something 2012. 2012 the game. Mayans 2012. I don't whatever, that 2012 game. Like not every game on Steam is good, but yeah, that is a good point. That is kind of a good thing that Steam is very selective about what games they put on there. So that does mean that there's not a giant oversaturation of games. But at the same time, I do wish that there was a place. I mean, I guess kind of Desura is the place that people can go that like almost any game, no matter what, will get accepted almost. Um, so the War Z was a joke. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not even gonna get into the War Z. Just biggest idiots on the planet. Oh, Adrian KS bought War Z. I feel sorry for you. Did you get your money back? I mean, in theory, it sounded like a good idea. They had a whole bunch of really good looking artwork and like promotional artwork, which ended up being stolen from The Walking Dead. Um, that's a good question, Bub11 or whatever your name is. Um, if you know that you're only going to be making 2D games, it might be easier to make a game in Game Maker. I would say that Game Maker, it's not really worth it to use it unless you buy the pro version of Game Maker, but the pro version of Game Maker is like $40 or something that's fairly affordable. It's like less than an actual video game. Um, so that's really good for 2D games, especially like pixel art style 2D games. Unity 3D can definitely do 2D games, but you kind of have to understand the 3D before you can start making it 2D, because you have to like trick it into thinking or into making it look like it's 2D. So the game's really technically always going to be in 3D. So it's just a matter of like pretty much the way that most people make 2D games in Unity is they just put images on 2D planes that float in 3D space, and they just make them float like either closer or farther away from the camera, and then they put the camera into orthographic view. So you can definitely make a game that looks like it's 2D in Unity 3D, but it's always going to be 3D. So you have to understand the 3D before you can make it 2D. And you might have more options opened up to you inside of Unity 3D. But if you really want to keep it simple and retro, and that's the kind of style you're going for, then Game Maker is a great engine for you, especially if you're not a huge coder and you don't like the idea of coding. Something like 2.5D, Unity 3D. Yeah, I would say if you want to get into 3D whatsoever, go with Unity 3D. Because I know Game Maker is pretty good at 3D currently. I've seen some good stuff come out of it that are fully 3D. But yeah, it sounds like you should go with Unity 3D. It sounds like it'll be a good fit for you. Have I played Telltale's The Walking Dead? Which one is that? The good one or the dumb one that was rushed out? The one that was a point and click adventure or the first person shooter? I haven't played either, but I have watched some video coverage on both. Awesome. Sounds good, Blue Bottom. The good one. Okay. Well, like I said, I haven't played either. Um, I have a lot of games that I gotta play. Look back at my post and tell me what you think. Oh. Oh, okay. What are we asking? Which one you like better? Here, I can do. Wait, add screen region. Go like that. There we go. Now everybody can see the image bigger. So, what are you talking about? Like, you're trying to decide between this style and this style? I think I like the second one better. I think it's interesting how everything's super 2D and then like there's something that's 3D in there. I think that's pretty cool looking. I think visually it just aesthetically looks better too. My vote's number 2. Itiski, what do you recommend I do for my next game? That's a good question. Not sure what to do for your next game. Do I like 2.5D platformer games? Well, since you mentioned 2.5D platformers, this is a 2.5D platformer that I'm currently working on. I don't know if you're here when I was showing this off. But, yeah, I do like 2.5D platformers. I don't know if, like, I like them more than other genres. Like, I don't know, like, if it's necessarily, like, a super genre that I really like more than others. But I'm enjoying it for the time being since I'm making one. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. I feel like working in a 2.5D platformer is really fun, and I'm liking the results so far, and I want to continue to develop it. So, yeah, 2.5D is good. I like it. Does LBP count as 2.5D? LBP. I don't know what that stands for. Wait, you can do a weirder version of Snake to start off? Oh, I see. I think you're talking to somebody else. It's not 2.5D, it's a side-scrolling 3D platformer. I've been calling it 2.5D for the longest time. I think once I get pixel art in there, it'll be more technically 2.5D. I'm not sure. But the entire game plays on a 2D plane. It just looks 3D. Little Big Planets. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a 2.5D platformer. Little Big Planet I really like. I haven't played it. I haven't played it very much, but what I did play I thought was really good. Okay, so according to Real Entropy's definition, this is 2.5D. Okay. .5D is about the graphics, not the camera. Well, it is going to have 2D graphics in it. It doesn't currently. But the enemies and guns are going to be 2D. Means the objects are moving in the way your player moves. Okay. Well, you know, speaking of like genre definitions, I remember reading like a forum post and everybody was talking about JRPGs, and I looked up what JRPG stands for, and it stands for Japanese role-playing game. So Japanese RPG. And like this person was saying, yeah, I want to make a JRPG. I'm like, do you live in Japan? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like he's like, no, I'm from America. I'm like, then how can you possibly make a JRPG? Don't you have to travel to Japan to make a JRPG? How about you just make a US RPG? Utiski, what should I add to my game? I'm trying to remember which game was yours. I know you showed something on the Show Your Work live stream. I just can't remember which one was yours. You can do a Japanese style RPG. So it should be a JS RPG. Is that already a genre? JS RPG? Japanese style RPG? So it's like Japanese style but wasn't actually... Oh, Quest for the Holy Stone. What could you add to it? Maybe a little bit of air control. JS RPG is JRPG. JavaScript RPG. I don't know when the new GUI system is going to come out for Unity 4, but I do know that they optimized the current GUI system. I assume that they're just going to refer to it as legacy GUI, because that's how they do everything else, like legacy particles, legacy animator. So they're probably going to call it legacy GUI, but I know that the legacy GUI, or in other words, the current GUI, apparently they performance optimized it and it's a lot faster now. I don't know when the new one's going to come out. I don't really know much about it. I haven't heard much about it. Oh, okay. It just depends on how you want to say JRPG or JSRPG. It makes more sense to say JSRPG, because JRPG, in my mind, means that the game was made in Japan. Which, you know, makes sense. I mean, there's definitely, like, if you look at Japanese games, like, that's one of the few countries that's, like, known for making video games and has an actual style to their video games. And I think a lot of other countries, it's kind of more universal. Like, there's no such... Wait, is there such thing as, like, an American style of video game? I don't know. I think it's kind of a blurry area, but, like, Japanese games really, like, are Japanese. Like, they have a definite style and, like, culture to them. So when will Half-Life 3 be out? I do not know. Will the new one have a visual editor for GUI like drag and drop? I don't know that. But if that's the sort of thing you're looking for, I think I would recommend NGUI. It's a program. It costs money. I don't know how much money. That's on the Unity Asset Store. But I think that one will like meet your needs as far as a drag and drop GUI system. So NGUI. I would. Oh, yep. So. Oh, Western RPG. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I forgot that other countries refer to this part of the world as Western. You have, like, no budget, though. Well, I guess your other option would be to in just 2D planes that float in front of the camera if you want to avoid using the GUI. So use all 3D texts and planes and textures and just have them physically in 3D space. That usually works pretty well too. What framework do you think is the best for 2D games? I don't know what you mean by framework. Do you mean, well, I don't know. I think technically it's called an API, or editor, or ODK. I mean, something DK. I don't know what the technical term is for it, but I'm going to call it a program. So you're talking about what program is the best for 2D games? I mean, there's Flash, Adobe Flash. There's Unity3D. There's Game Maker. Somebody was talking about something called Sketch. There's a bunch of different things. There's no one best solution. Everything serves a slightly different purpose. It's just a matter of figuring out which one serves your purpose the best. Like, maybe you want to do Adobe Flash because it's very essential that your game has vector-based artwork. So, I don't know. How would you do a health bar without GUI? You would just stretch the transform of the plane. In 3D space, can you make it adapt to different resolutions? It'll just automatically do that because it's in 3D space. You might have to figure out how to make sure it adapts to different aspect ratios. But as far as scaling to different, like if you're going between 720p and 1080p, it will just automatically work. You will have to worry about aspect ratios though. You might have to like stretch it or something. Put it inside of a child and stretch it. Oh, an integrated development environment, an IDE. That's what it's called. That's the technical term for something like Game Maker or Unity 3D or Unreal or Sketch or Corona or what other ones are out there. How did I learn about Unity? Google. A lot of Google, a lot of YouTube tutorials, a lot more Google, and the Unity scripting reference, and then some more Google. That's how I learned. Google, Google, Google. That's how I learned. A lot of Google. mm. Liam Harley, I don't think you can do it without script. But it's very easy to do with script. That would be a very simple script. You just have, instead of the update loop of a JavaScript, just do transform dot rotation equal quaternion dot Euler vector 3.0. Okay, that's a little bit complicated, but I mean, in retrospect, compared to everything else that you do, that's a really simple script. So, but no, I don't think you can do it without making a script. Wait, do you often feel like not programming when you can't seem to overcome an issue for a long time? What I've learned is that if it takes you a really long time to fix a problem, then you're going about it wrong. Even if you're making your way towards the technically right solution. If it's taking you forever and it's just super problematic, go about it a different way. Like, take a step backwards. Like, maybe like you've already wasted a week trying to figure out this glitch. So you might as well go backwards in your work too, and like just yeah, you just approach it from a different angle. Like, just if it takes you more than a week and you made zero progress and it's all just a glitch, go backwards and do it a different way. Like, just completely redo what you're doing because you're not doing it right. So that's what I've learned. Do I make money with making games, and how much? Currently, I don't have any games for sale. I have YouTube ads, but that's really hardly anything. That's definitely not enough money to live off of. And maybe I'll be able to answer that question better once I get this game out, because this will be not the first game that I've sold, but the first game that I am hoping will actually be successful. But we'll see. I don't know. You talk to someone else on your team? What? I don't have anybody. I don't have a team. If you get stuck for a week, programming isn't your gig. No, I've definitely had times where I've gotten stuck on a problem and I haven't been able to solve it in a week. But I definitely say that programming is my gig. I love programming. Um, so I don't know. I think if you don't like programming, you know who you are. Like, if you're gonna get into making games, you gotta be good at something. And at first, like when you first start, you're not gonna be good at anything because you've never done anything before in making video games. So you gotta figure out what your um, niche is. Like, what are you good at making? And you're not gonna know that until you try. And it's not like you can just try in a day and figure out what you're good at. Like, you gotta spend some time at it. And like I know I've done a lot of artwork and I've done a lot of programming and I've kind of realized I'm better at the programming side. In the real world, you don't have a week to solve a problem. That's true. If you're relying on making video games as a job and you spend a week on a problem, you're doing something wrong. But I think if you're learning, well, you're still doing something wrong. If you're spending a week on any one thing inside of video game design, you're doing something wrong. Maybe artwork will be an exception, but programming wise, I can say if you're spending a week on, well, I've been spending more than a week on this particular input system, um, but it's not like I've been spending on like one glitch inside of the input system. Like I've been working on the whole input system and designing the whole thing, and I've made a lot of progress. Um, but like if you spend a week and you haven't made any progress and everything's just glitchy and problematic, you are doing it wrong. You need to go backwards. But that doesn't necessarily mean to give up on programming. When you're learning, yeah, if you're getting paid $10,000 a month, you have to be better at coding. Yeah, stubbing my toes uh, definitely true there. But if you're like a kid in high school and you're just teaching yourself and you're just doing this for fun for now, then yeah, that's true. If you start a project for money, you better be sure you can do it. That's actually very true. I've seen a lot of people like get overconfident and like I've literally had somebody tell me that he was going to make a game better than Call of Duty and like sell it and like make $1 million and like, well, not, I don't think that's exactly what he said, but he was like talking all about how he was going to sell it and stuff. It's like, yeah, don't try to sell something unless you know you can make it, unless you know you have the skills, because otherwise you're just digging yourself into a hole. Yeah, you should not expect to be paid for your first game. Definitely not. And you should probably expect that your first game that you try to sell is going to be a flop. You got to be prepared for that. Um, yeah, be prepared for your game to flop and not make any money because especially your first game, because I can almost guarantee your first game that will happen. It takes quite a while to build up the skills and to learn all about video games in order to um, make a game that's good enough to be worth money. Was you etc? I don't understand that question. Yeah, stubbing my toe always. Oh wait, was you prepared Itiski? Oh, you said I tried to. Oh, okay, yeah, when I tried to make an iPhone game. That was actually the first time I ever used Unity 3D. Before I made my iPhone game, I was using Game Maker and little text-based games on the TI-83 Plus calculator. Um, so it, yeah, I'd say that I made quite a few mistakes, but I've learned from my mistakes. And like, I knew going in that it was a big learning experience and that my main goal was to learn. And my major goal was to make my money back, which I ended up not even doing that. So it was a huge flop. And I learned a bunch from that flop. It was like a great learning experience, but it was also a long experience, and it did cost a decent amount of money. Um, so yeah, I'd say that I wasn't prepared because my game went through a lot of like iterations of like at first I thought I was gonna make the entire game out of cube art, and then I realized an iPhone game with cube art is not a good idea. So I don't know. I learned so many things throughout making that game. So yeah, I wasn't really prepared at all. So my game ended up being sloppy and it ended up being a flop. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I mean, I was prepared in a financial sense. I wasn't like putting money on this where I was like, if this game doesn't make money, I'm going to be living on the streets. Like I wasn't, it wasn't that serious. Like it was just kind of like, oh darn, I was hoping to make my money back from that. Oh well. Like financially, I was stable. I was still living with my parents. I think I had a job at the time. So I mean, it's not like that. And like I wasn't expecting. I was hoping to make my money back. I wasn't expecting to make a lot of money. And what ended up did happening was that I lost all that money, which it wasn't. And it was like $400 or something after buying the Unity iPhone license and the Apple license. Self-taught, yes, totally self-taught. Dang, stubbing my toe never went to college. Oh, you're asking stubbing my toe. Dang, I would have assumed you went to college. That's totally awesome. I always knew that you didn't necessarily need college to get good at this sort of thing or any kind of programming or technical skills, but that's proof right there. Am I familiar with the game Z Virus? Oh, cool. Where's my mouse? There it is. Oh, oh, that looks interesting. I'll check that out later. But I gotta wrap up this live stream. Hello, Lego Boomy. I was just about to wrap up the live stream. Huh. Yeah, Squared 55, I think that depends a lot on the particular company and who's doing the hiring, and I think it also depends on the skill set. Like if they like sometimes companies do hire somebody because they're like, we know that this person can do this exact thing, And also, people aren't going to hire somebody that has a college degree and no portfolio. So I think portfolio is the most important. They need to know that you know that what you're doing. And I guess if you're being a programmer, they might also look to see if you are certified in your particular programming language. And I know that you can become certified in programming languages, and you go somewhere and you take a test over the programming language, and they'll basically give you a piece of paper that says, yep, he for sure knows what he's doing. Do you think it would be hard to make a simulation type game in Unity? Depends on what kind of simulation. Like, are you like what do you mean by simulation? Like a flight simulator? Unity would be great for that. I mean, you should, like, depending on how accurate you want the realism of your airplane to fly around, you might want to fully program the airplane physics yourself if you have like flight knowledge, or a driving simulator. Yeah, same thing. Like, but yeah, I'd say Unity3D is something that can definitely do that. Yep, Unity can do anything, but you still have to import your own 3D models and textures. And it doesn't matter which engine you're talking about, you're going to be importing the same 3D models and textures. So that's what it comes down to. I think that's the thing that a lot of people get confused about when they're first starting off, is that they don't really think about the importing the models and textures. And like visually, the models and textures are the first thing that you see. So I think sometimes people look at it, like, we'll look at two different engines, and for a particular example, there might be some fantastic artwork, but like the engine's crap. And they might think that that engine's really good because it had really good artwork imported into it. But it doesn't matter. You can import any artwork into any engine. So, yeah. What successful games are there made in Unity? Mad Piggies, Castle Story. There's a bunch. FPS Creator, I've never used it. Oh yeah, Kerbal Space Program. What have you added? What? Added what? I don't know. Alright, well, I think I'm going to wrap up this live stream. I've been saying that for the past half hour. I'm getting pretty tired and hungry. I think I'm going to go make some food. Oh, what have I added to Prototype Recoil? I guess I'll give you a quick demonstration, one last demonstration of Prototype Recoil. So right now, as you can see, it's pretty glitchy. I gotta fix that. But if I press any button on the keyboard and then hit resume, what I basically just did there was I signed in the keyboard. So, you know, right now it looks the same. It looks and plays exactly the same way it used to before with keyboard and mouse controls. It's just behind the scenes, I just signed in with my keyboard, and it just, like, behind the scenes, it went like controls ready, like, and I'm gonna use that to do custom controls. Oh yeah, and I forgot to change the title of the working on games. So, yes. You're welcome, Liam Harley. And thank you for coming to the live stream. It's awesome to see new people come into the live stream and participating in the live stream. It's really cool. Oh, sweet. We got somebody from New Jersey. See you later, Mini Karate Kid. Goodbye, Squared 55 and Buddha 11. Bub 11. Bub 11. I'm gonna go with Bub 11. See you later, Zed. And Stubbing My Toe, Peanut IV, and Zinc from Ohio. Lego Boomy is making backflips in his games. Mega Hold, see you later. Cheers. I don't know if you're saying cheers or cheese. Cheese. Cheese, Mega Hold. Cheese. I will cheese you guys all tomorrow. Alright. Alright, see you guys later. Cheese, everyone. I am... How old am I? I'm 22. Oh, April Fool's is coming up. No, I won't do anything for April Fool's Day. Now you guys don't know whether I'm going to or not. Alright, see you later, everyone. Keep making games.